Whew! Gosh! It's freezing out there and there's ice everywhere. I wish I could get rid of it. I'm sick of it. Oh, I've had an idea. Press pause now and copy the Walt into your home learning books. Using ice cubes from your freezer, we are learning to investigate the speed of melting ice and what we can do to make ice melt quicker. Welcome to my kitchen. So, before we begin, you must make sure you have got the correct equipment. So, I found all sorts of household things which I can test melting ice with. I have sugar in here, I've got table salt, chip shop vinegar, bought from the actual chip shop, and I have tomato ketchup, Aldi brand. Other brands are available. You will also need, and most importantly, an ice cube tray or something to make ice in, with ice already made, or you may have to wait a good couple of hours for it to freeze. So, right now, press pause and go gather your equipment. You'll need a number of different household substances to test melting your ice with. At the very minimum, you're going to need these items, especially a timer, so you can record your results. Make sure you get an adult's permission before using any substance from your kitchen. Don't just go rifling through the drawers and cupboards. Make sure your adult has given you permission to use whatever you have found. And also, stay away from any dangerous household substances that should not be handled by children. As I said, ask an adult before using any substance from your kitchen. Now we need to get something in our book about variables. Now the one thing that we want to change in our experiment is what we put on the ice cubes. So on one we'll have salt, one will have sugar, one we might have ketchup or vinegar. This is called the independent variable. It's the one thing we do want to change in each part of our experiment. The other things are called controlled variables, and we have to control them by making sure they are all the same, such as the size of the ice cubes, the amount of salt or sugar we put on each ice cube must be kept the same, otherwise it wouldn't be a fair test. And also how long the ice cubes are out of the freezer before the experiment begins. If you get them out one by one, then they wouldn't have been out the same time melting for the same amount of time, and this would be an unfair test too. So these will need writing in your book, and if you can think of any more things that you need to control, that you need to keep the same, then bob them on the list below. Press pause now and get them written down quickly. Next up, based on your experiences, you need to stick in your book a prediction. So, I'm going to give you an example. I think that the one with sugar on will melt the fastest because every time I have an ice cream, it seems to melt really quickly, especially in summer. That's my prediction. Now press pause and write down which one you think is going to melt the quickest out of all your household substances you're going to put on each ice cube. The last thing before you go, you will need to make a results table to capture your results, just like the one I'm showing you here. However, you could simply just draw some pictures, like the ones I've got below, and write the time it takes for each one to melt next to it. Either way, make sure you write down how long it takes for each cube to melt. So here I have my identically sized ice cubes, otherwise the test will be unfair. I've decided to use a baking tray, covered in foil, to catch all the mess. So here's my ice cubes. They've all just come out of the freezer now, otherwise that will make the test unfair. Now they're all in place, I'm going to add the ingredients on top of each. But they all must have exactly the same amount or it will be unfair. So here goes a teaspoon of sugar. Pour it all on. I have prepared a teaspoon of salt, which is now going on. Carefully make sure it covers the whole thing, and as much on there as possible. Otherwise it would be unfair. Teaspoon of ketchup. It's just slipped off the back there. Teaspoon of vinegar going in. I've had to put that one in a little pot or the vinegar will run everywhere and spoil all the rest of the tests around it, and that would be an unfair test. Now I've done that, we're ready to go. Here's my timer, and off we go. So with that, off you go, getting on with your home experiment. Mine will follow after this point in the video. So if you want to see how my home experiment went, continue watching. Now obviously you can't be staring at these ice cubes melting for the whole time, so make sure you've got something that you can be doing. You could be reading your book, or obviously you could be on Times Table Rockstars and you could be practicing your times tables while you observe the ice cubes melting. Don't get too distracted though, and forget that your experiment is underway. So it's been just over 10 minutes and I'm doing some observations of what's happening here. So let's have a look at so far. The one with nothing on is melting nicely and smoothly. When I observe the sugar one, it's forming some very sharp little crystals there on the edges as it melts away. The ketchup appears to be melting really quickly. There's water running right down the back of there. My salt one is burning through the middle, or at least it looks like it. There's a huge hole in that ice cube and it appears to be melting much quicker than all the rest. The vinegar doesn't appear to have done much at all. In fact, it looks very much like the ice cube without any substance placed on it. So keep an eye on your ice cubes as they're melting and make observations as you go along. 20 minutes in. The non-ice cube still looking pretty fat and rounded. Sugar is still melting with some kind of spiky looking structure sticking out. Wonder why that is. The ketchup is surprising me. It looks to be melting pretty quickly. Maybe a little bit quicker than sugar and non. Vinegar, same. About the same as non. Don't think that vinegar's having much of an effect. Look at salt. It's nearly gone. Great big hole down the middle. Just a little pile of salt in the middle and a couple of spikes sticking out of the sides where the salt didn't touch. So clearly so far, salt is having a huge effect on how quick I can melt this ice. Winner at 34 minutes and 28 seconds. The salty cube has completely melted. All that is left is a little pile of half dissolved salt. So I'm going to keep an eye on the others. Vinegar is still going strong in there. Ketchup, I have to move a little bit. I realise I might have left this not a very fair test because the others situated in the middle of the tray, but ketchup is pushed up against a corner where it may be insulated from the heat a little bit better. In my practice of this the other night, ketchup melted the second fastest, but now it appears to be much bigger than sugar and none, which look pretty much the same size at the moment. So that's it so far. We have a winner. Who will come second? 48 minutes and 52 seconds in. Sugar Cube is no more. It's gone, which really surprises me. I thought that one was going to be the fastest. None is just clinging on, but it's still there. You can just about see it poking with that screwdriver there. It still lives. I shall keep an eye on it. 50 minutes and 5 seconds in. None is gone. It's melted completely. And there we have it. The results. Salt, a clear winner. 34 minutes until the ice cube are completely melted. And then, surprisingly, ketchup was last, which wasn't the result on my practice test before I did this one. Ketchup actually finished second. I wonder if having it pushed up against my baking tray in the corner, shielded from the heat and insulating it slightly, maybe caused that. Plus, the ketchup slid off the top, which it didn't do when I did it the first time. So that's something I might be able to improve if I were to do this test again. So the final thing you will need to stick in your book is what you would do next time. So I've done an example here. I would place all my ice cubes in a container like the vinegar, as this didn't keep all the conditions the same. I would also, as I said, like to do the test with room temperature ketchup, and also make sure that it didn't slip off the top of the ice cube, as this may have also affected my results. Either way, the salt was a clear winner and made the ice melt very, very quickly. So, why has that happened? What is the science? Well, water can be a solid, liquid, or a gas. A liquid turns into a solid, like ice, meaning it freezes, when its temperature drops below its freezing point. For water, this is at 0 degrees Celsius. Ice melts when its temperature rises above its freezing point. Ice melts faster when salt is added, as the salt makes the freezing point of the ice lower, so it'll be a minus number. Different liquids have different freezing points. Oil freezes at a lower temperature than water, so much more into the minus numbers. Did you know fresh ice feels sticky because it immediately freezes to the moisture in your skin, making it feel sticky to touch? Road gritters spread salt and grit all over the road to lower the freezing temperature of water on the tarmac surface. This means that cars don't slide all over the place and it reduces accidents. If you enjoyed this science and want to experiment a little further, here's some more suggestions you could do. So try this indoors. Ice rescue. Place a small plastic toy or figure, like Lego, into the container and fill almost to the top with water, leaving a freezer or ice compartment in the fridge until the water is frozen. Remove the container and leave for 5 to 10 minutes until the ice loosens, and then tip it out onto a plate or a tray. So, what did you notice? You could see what happens when you pour a little warm water on. What happens if you pour salt onto it? What do you think would be the fastest way to rescue your toy from the ice? What could you do to find out? A bigger toy is easier to rescue than smaller toys. Let me know. Woohoo! Freedom! Furthermore, some outdoor activities with melting ice. You can freeze several small ice cubes, or shapes of the same size, put them in separate containers and choose different places to leave them. If you can go outside, you could put one in the shade, one in the sunshine, but not much chance this time of year. But you could also leave one inside. You could also try making ice cubes out of different liquids like milk, vinegar, or cooking oil. So you have to look at what you noticed. Where does the ice cube melt the most quickly? Why might that be? Can you find the place where the ice cube will take the longest time to melt, or the shortest time to melt? and what happens with frozen cubes made from different liquids. If you'd like to leave me some pictures of your scientific endeavours, or just your results of what you found out, then you can put them in the files part of the whole school team on Teams and in a folder called Science Pics. Can't wait to see what you've done. Thanks for joining me and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.